Hi, my name is Mary Jane and I created The Biggest Ask, an educational website and blog dedicated to gestational surrogacy. Today, I'm going to talk about the 5 things that surrogates and intended parents should do after they match with each other.
First, the intended parents need to check in with their fertility clinic to ask what are the specific requirements for that clinic for a gestational carrier. All clinics differ in what they require, although many will follow the American Society for Reproductive Medicine guidelines. So for example, you can bet that the clinic is going to require that the surrogate have existing biological children and that her pregnancies in the past were very easy. Intended parents should also ask the clinic what are all the necessary steps required for a transfer to eventually happen. What intended parents will probably hear is that the clinic is going to need a letter from the surrogate's existing OBGYN, and then the clinic is going to review her past medical history. And if the clinic is okay with her past medical history, then they will invite the surrogate and her partner, if she has one, to be medically cleared at their clinic. Which brings me to my third point. It's important for intended parents to ask their clinic for a pricing sheet. Screening can be very expensive, so it's good to know beforehand what you're signing up for. Finally, intended parents should ask the clinic about psychological evaluations. More likely than not, both the surrogate and the intended parents are going to need to go through some type of psychological evaluation. So ask them who you can use to do this. Now, the second step is to find a surrogacy lawyer. And keep in mind that intended parents have a surrogacy lawyer, and a surrogate has a separate lawyer for herself as well. Generally, intended parents find a surrogacy lawyer first, and I recommend interviewing a whole bunch until you feel comfortable with the lawyer. More likely than not, the intended parent surrogacy lawyer will suggest a lawyer for the surrogate if she doesn't already have one in mind. And keep in mind that surrogacy lawyers are in charge of informing intended parents and surrogates of everything needed in order to bring the baby home. Now, the third step is to check the surrogate's medical insurance. So the first question is, does the surrogate have medical insurance? The second question is, will this medical insurance cover a surrogacy pregnancy? If the surrogate doesn't have medical insurance, that's okay, but the intended parents are going to have to purchase a plan on the Affordable Care Act health insurance marketplace when it opens, generally in November every year. And even if the surrogate does have medical insurance, it is possible that the insurance would not cover a surrogacy pregnancy, so it's important to double check with them to see if they will. But a lot of professionals suggest hiring an insurance broker that specializes in assisted reproductive technologies like ArtRisk to review the surrogate's medical insurance to see if it will cover a surrogacy pregnancy. Now, the fourth step is to consider psychological evaluations. Now, remember in step 1, I said that the fertility clinic of the intended parents is likely to require psychological evaluations for both parties, so why not just get a head start? I recommend doing these psychological evaluations for surrogates sooner rather than later because these evaluations really emphasize the mental strength and commitment needed for a surrogacy journey. And I strongly suggest hiring a therapist for both the surrogate and the intended parents during a surrogacy journey. Mental health is super important and it's not something to skip on. Now, the fifth and final step is to set up an escrow account, even if the surrogate is not receiving compensation for her journey. There will be a ton of expenses along the way, such as co-pays for office visits, prenatal vitamins, or extra food. Don't put the surrogate in a position to ask for money back. It's super awkward. So setting up an escrow is super helpful because the intended parents will put a lump sum in the escrow account and then the surrogate will interact with the escrow company to get that money back.
There you have it, the 5 most important steps to make after matching with your surrogacy partner. Now, to learn more about gestational surrogacy, just sign up on my website, thebiggistask.com, or follow me on Instagram @thebiggistask.